Navigating through the energies of New Earth is not an easy process and can become extremely overwhelming at times. As we all ascend into higher frequencies, we're all being guided to embrace our own unique divine pathway, a pathway created in the vibration of love. Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte, as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within and understand the message being shared even greater. When you live in the frequency of love, there is no competition, so Carrie will be joined regularly by fellow soul family members who will bring forth wisdom and knowledge she knows should be shared on a global level. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners to see what message Spirit wants to share with all those listening in for the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, come and join us now on Vibe Nation Radio, here on the IOM Radio Network.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another edition of Vibe Nation Radio. And I hope all of you had a wonderful holiday weekend. It's kind of gloomy here for Boxing Day, but we have a very, very important message here today. And my special guest is a dear friend, Bob DeMenu, who's the president and co-owner of Replast. And we're going to be here today to talk about the truth regarding recycling because, again, it's no coincidence. We know that on this show we always work with the energies. And the information that I got today is about, you really need to, look at the shadow side and look at the light and the dark and come into balance with one another. And again, a lot of people don't know the truth about recycling. And, a lot of people don't know if it's garbage or recycling. People are not aware how to prepare their recycling. And people, I truly don't believe too many people truly understand the recycling process and the difference between consumer recycling and post-industrial recycling. So is my beautiful friend there, Bob DeMenu? Are you there, my friend?
Hi, Carrie. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me here on Vibe Nation Radio.
It's my pleasure. Anytime.
So, you know this topic well, and Bob and I go back, and they're over the years as his business Replast, which is re-plast.ca if you're looking for the website. Through the years, they've expanded, they've grown, and they've gone from the different locations. And there's been many a times where I've gone in and actually worked at the warehouse, and I see firsthand the kind of stuff that people think may be recycling or that contaminate certain products, and they throw something in there that shouldn't be in there. And I see the bigger picture, and I really thought it was important for Bob to come on and share the message today because I don't truly believe that very many people understand the recycling process and what is involved to be able to recycle our plastics, especially because they are, they can't dissolve by themselves. So, Bob, please share your wisdom with regards to this.
Well, as we were discussing before, Carrie, there's two sides. There's post-consumer, which is your curbside recycling program, which all of your listeners probably participate in. And then what we get involved in is what we call post-industrial plastic recycling, which is scrap plastics from the manufacturing sectors, whether that be in food service or automotive parts manufacturing, that type of thing. So a lot of those plastics were going to landfill. And so we've taken the time over the years to educate companies and corporations on what is recyclable, because they don't know what recycling or recyclables are until someone comes to the table and says, here, this is what it is, and we can take care of that for you. So it's been good to us. We've been in the business going into our 14th year now, and recently moved from our warehouse in Hamilton to a newer location in Burlington. And so it's a great operation. We do grinding. Actually, we grind the plastics ourselves. We don't broker plastics or anything like that. It's if we get it from you, then we're going to process it. So that's where it's taken us, and it's been a fun ride, and it's been some challenges along the way. Of course, 2008, and last year was pretty tight too because of just price of oil and whatnot. And So it's been challenging, but it's always rewarding. So
beautiful. Now, on a consumer base, I know that on your website, so that's www.re-plast.ca, you have information on there, even at a consumer level, about the type of plastics and the coatings, because every plastic has a different code connected to it, does it not?
Correct. And usually on your consumer goods, there's usually a marker on it, and those are the universal recycling symbols, 1 through 6, and 1 being polyethylene terephthalate, which is typically your water bottle. Number 2 is high-density polyethylene, which would be maybe a margarine tub, and then there's number 3, which is polyvinyl chloride. You won't see that very often. Number 4 is LDPE, which is probably the lid to the margarine tub. And number 5 is, you got me stumped there, Carrie. It's a day off today, and I'm just not sharp. But number 6 is polystyrene, which could be styrofoam or maybe something that held your cell phone when you bought the cell phone is resting in a piece of plastic in the packaging. So that's
and isn't number 7
polypropylene? Sorry, polypropylene. So any of your listeners go on to plastic acronyms, and you'll see the universal symbols for recycling. And if they follow those, and you follow your own local programs, excuse me, follow your local programs as to what they recycle. They usually put out a guide every year saying this is what we do. Some won't take plastic bags, some will. It just depends on the area that your listeners are in.
Yes, and I know that's very important. So if you do move, my friends, from one district to another, you might want to get caught up in what they recycle in that district, because not everyone does the same type of recycling.
And all of these materials on the curbside program goes to what we call a MRF, which stands for Material Recovery Facility. And so all of those are either owned by the city or privately held, and they're sent there for sorting and compacting and for further sale, just to recover some of the monies that they spend in the collection of the materials.
Correct. And, for those who go into fast food outlets or you go into a coffee shop, really be careful where you throw your stuff. And really, if you've got a cup with a little bit of, muffin left, don't throw that in the recycling as one, because believe me, from somebody who's worked in the recycling industry, when it gets to the other end, it doesn't become recycling. It actually gets thrown in the garbage because it's now contaminated. Is that not correct?
As much as you want to contribute to the recycling programs, a lot of it does end up in the landfill regardless because of just residual materials in whatever the container was, whether it was a salad dressing bottle or a mayonnaise bottle or a peanut butter jar. It just doesn't matter.
Yep.
So these should be, treated diligently by your listeners, and that'll certainly help avoid it going to landfill.
Yes, and that means clean out your if you've got, a can of something, clear it, wash it out. The same with yogurts and milk. You need to rinse the stuff out before you put it into the recycling, because if it goes there dirty, it won't get recycled. Exactly. Glass is different because they have to wash the glass. But again, with what you do with the plastics, again, I've seen it, and the amount of. And I'm not saying it's consumer not being, I don't want to say it's an ignorance, but it is, because most people don't understand that, when you drive through and you throw that stuff into the garbage and it says waste only, and then it says cardboard or glasses here, and people are throwing all of it in all of them. They don't realize that, you're not even helping the program now, because that stuff will not be recycled. And when things go to the landfill.
Yeah, like you say, Carrie, you go to the coffee shop. Take the lid off and put that into the plastics portion of the recycling program or whatever, because it's good material that can be processed. But if you throw the cup out with the lid, then who knows if it's going to get recycled or not? That's the thing. Yes.
And I don't think people realize that a lot of these products this stuff that you're using, plastics especially, that they don't decompose. So when they go to the recycling, when they go to the landfill, guys, guess what? It's just there. And I know that the followers of Vibe Nation Radio, we're light workers. We're not just here to help shed the light with all of humanity. We're also here to help Mother Earth get back into her wellness because she's sick now. And a big part of this has to do with the fact of these landfills and throwing this garbage in when it really doesn't need to be there. It could actually be in a recycling program to be reused so that, again, you know, it doesn't end up. And a lot of stuff that ends up in the landfills ends up in the water, ends up in the oceans. And, I mean, I know you know this, Bob. Mm-hmm. The amount of plastic that lies in the ocean.
Yeah, well, containers fall off of ships all the time, and that's usually filled with recyclables that are destined for Asia or some, India or somewhere else like that, and it ends up in the ocean, and it happens, and it's sad to say.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of, and I'm sure anybody who's listening to this show has seen it out there on social media that, you know, the animals that, you know, all of a sudden there's a turtle walking down the beach and it's got a beer can plastic thing around it, and its shell has actually gone in because it can't grow because the plastic doesn't expand. Right? So,
yeah,
you know,
and those are things that could be recycled too, and just people are throwing them away. And some areas are getting more aggressive, and there's always more new technologies coming out all the time that are in the test phases right now. But they're trying to do so much more with plastics and different recyclables that haven't been done before, and it's cutting-edge technology, and there's a lot of money being put into it so that we have less of a problem.
Very cool. So when we return, my friends, we're going to jump right back into the truth regarding recycling. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts, Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland, on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today my special guest is Bob Demenu, president and co-owner of Replast, and we're speaking about the truth regarding recycling. And during the commercial break, I was getting some thoughts in my head. And Bob, you know, can you just share with the listeners like a typical day in the recycling industry that, you know, what is involved? Because I don't think people truly understand the bigger prospect of what's really happening when their garbage is picked up, or what's happening when, like yourself, you do post-industrial. So when you pick up the recycling, like what is the process that takes place?
Well, initially, obviously, it goes into your curbside program, whether it's a blue box or otherwise, depending on the area you're in. It gets collected, and it's initially separated for the most part into paper, and then there's the plastics and others that are collected. Then they go to what I mentioned earlier, the MRF, or the Material Recovery Facility, and it goes through optical sorting for the most part, and some manual sorting, and then it gets put into its own category. Like I said before, the 1 through 6. And so these MRFs, they're run by municipalities or they're run by private corporations, and so they know their materials. And then they're for the most part they're baled, like baling hay, but you're baling plastic and you're baling paper and you're baling cardboard, these types of things. And then it goes from there to further markets where they're either processed, washed, ground up, and then made into other materials. So what you end up with is a ground-up flake of plastic by category, and then it goes for, like I said, washing, and then melted into whatever it's going to be, maybe another water bottle or something like that, or another detergent bottle, and that's the full circle of the materials that are going from the curbside to finished goods. So a lot of times your consumers will find, or your listeners will find, that it says made from 25% recyclable material or 50% recycled material. And so that's where you're seeing that material going in the full circle from the curbside right to consumer goods that you're buying at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised, my friends, like when the baling process kicks in, I've had some fun. I used to call the baler at Replas Big Bertha. We used to be able to put so much stuff into her, and it would blow your mind. Like, when you think about, like, one of the examples is, like, the sleeves on coffee cups and stuff like that you see in all the coffee shops, with the sleeves that they're in, that you could turn around and put like 100,000 of them into a bale, because again, when she starts to squish the baler, it might be full, but when she pushes it down, and because it's plastic, it pushes the air out. It's quite an interesting process, my friends. And again, I've witnessed this, and I've done this myself, and I've seen how, look at the times that you and I were taking bales apart because there was wood stuck in between, and we'd have to rebale it.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And
it's just
maybe some food in there too, and different things like that. So it does get a little ugly at times, but again,
in the
it's
big
a matter of
time.
educating. Yeah,
it is educating, because when you think about how these, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, these MRFs, they're not manual balers. They're what would they call a horizontal baler, and it just goes in and it just keeps pushing and pushing, and so the bales of plastic might end up being about maybe 1,500 pounds. So there's some serious weight in there, and that's a lot of material going into those baling machines.
Yes, and think about it, my friends. Like, think about a plastic sleeve that you would put, you get, even when you get party cups at the grocery store, and they come in that sleeve. Think about doing 15,000 pounds of that. It kind of boggles your mind when you think about it, right? Like, I was blown away with some of the stuff that came through your recycling facility. I mean, it was just, a lot of times you don't even think about something, and you're like, wow, like, I can't believe that this can actually be recycled, again, because not being educated, right?
And in our business, Carrie, when we go to a potential new customer, we do a free assessment. So we walk in through their facility, because their business is something different than what we do. So they know their business, whether it's making automotive parts or whatever it is. I mean, they make cadiddles, whatever. But they know that business. They don't know recycling. So we go in, assess what can be recycled, put a list together for them, and then have a further discussion with them as to how to capture it and how we can actually save the money on their waste disposals.
Yes, because again, if it's not going into recycling, my friends, it's going into waste, which is going to the landfills. Which again, this is and with the holiday season being here, I mean, think of, my friends, how many people did you actually check out your wrapping paper if you used it to see what could be recycled and what could not? Or did you throw it in the bag altogether with, ripped down boxes and bags? Did you pull it apart? Again, a lot of people don't even understand that there's certain wrapping papers that are recyclable and there's others that are not.
Well, we were at my sister's for Christmas Eve, and excuse me, and she was serving wine in plastic cups that she got from Costco. And at the end of the dinner, Andrea, my partner in the business, she said, "All right, we're going to recycle those, right?" And they go, "Yeah, we are." So it went right into the recycling bin.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's just, my friends, we're just so programmed to just be like robots. We just do certain things, we go to the garbage and we drop it. And I know recycling has been out for years and years and years and years, but I know that there's many people that I see, in the neighborhood. You'll be driving down on, pickup day, and maybe only half the street actually has recycling out with the garbage, and others just have garbage. And if you think about, how much that garbage at the end of the day is going to go into the landfill that actually has plastic in it, this is just, and I'm not saying going and knock on people's doors, but I've done this many a times with friends. Like, I see them go to throw something in the garbage, and I'm like, what are you doing? Throw that in the recycling. Oh, I can't, it's not a big deal. If it's only, what difference am I going to make? And I'm thinking, well, if everybody on the planet had that attitude, we'd be in big trouble right now. And when you think about it, at the end of the day, my friends, at the end of the week, when you take your garbage out, how much garbage are you actually taking out? It ends up being quite a bit, to be quite honest with you, because everything's packaged.
Well, at our home, we send out our garbage once every 2 weeks, because we generate so little of it, because we're recycling so much of it, that, if I miss the truck coming by to pick up the garbage, I'm not worried. I go, I'll just send it out next week.
Yeah. Well, and again, think about it, you're saying the same thing I am, that there's more, I put out more recycling than I do garbage. But I understand what can and cannot go out there. So I feel for the listeners that are in, we just wanted to educate you a little bit more. Look at that. Go online. There's a lot of information at replast.ca that is, if you're in the industrial as well, who knows who's involved in what industry, who's listening to this show. And, we have to come together and work together on this to ensure that these plastics are not landing in the landfills. Because, again, there's way too many of them. And
Carrie,
even with, yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt. But in our business in post-industrial plastics recycling, 70% of the plastics that are generated end up in landfill. That's changing all the time. It's being reduced. But at one point, it was 70% going to landfill. And when you contribute to your Blue Box program, like you said earlier, is clean out the containers and things, because if everything could be recycled that goes into that bin, then we're doing a great job. But what happens is, if people aren't diligent enough or not teaching themselves enough about what happens to it when it goes to this material recovery facility, 50% of that could end up in landfill because of just not cleaning out the container, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, I think something, I used to laugh because when I used to clean out, I don't use margarine anymore, but I did back in the days. And, cleaning that, it was like, ew, it was yucky and stuff. But I mean, it might be nasty and you might have to clean out the peanut butter. You have to go in there and scrape it off or whatever. But at the end of the day, that peanut butter container is not going to go into the landfill where it's going to sit for the rest of eternity, because it's not going to disappear by itself, my friends.
That's right.
Right? And we're running out of landfills, are we not?
No. Cities have to buy landfill space more and more.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of it.
Yes. So think about that, my friend. If we're running out of space, and again, when you think about the population and the growth, I mean, especially here in the GTA, in the Toronto area, every time you turn around, there's more homes being built and more apartments going up and condos and roads, and it's just like we're taking up all the land and we're putting all these people in it, but where's the garbage going to go? So, it's just something I want the listeners to think about, that, You know, like there's how many millions of people living in the GTA? I don't know, 7 million or something like that. That's a lot of garbage. Are you there, Bob?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to contribute to something I was interrupting you on. No, but a lot of times consumers can put pressure on manufacturers of what they're making their things out of. Okay, and just that, and maybe demand that it is recyclable, and stop over packaging things, because that's what's killing the landfills a lot. Is just look at Christmas time. If you bought a toy for a family member or something like that, the packaging, the over packaging in it is crazy. You know, you get a cell phone and you've got a box in a box and in a tray and all this other stuff, and you go, why? Over packaging is probably a bigger problem than just plain recycling.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Some of this packaging isn't even marked as it's recyclable, so it has to go in the garbage, because Mr. and Mrs. Consumer, if they know their symbols, they go, there's no symbol on it, so it must be garbage.
Yep.
So there has to be some pressure put on some of these companies that are packaging their goods and saying, you've got to label it and make sure it's recyclable. So just some things that people can do that they don't know they can.
Yep. I mean, you can go onto your website, my friends, and just start Googling people that you know. Or, if you notice that there's something that's a local business that you don't think they're doing their share with the recycling, make a phone call to your local MPP. I mean, that's what they're there for. They're there to also help. They're involved in this, obviously, because the government is involved in recycling. But it's just educating people. So when we get back, we will further this conversation with the truth regarding recycling. Stay tuned, my friends, and we'll be back after the commercial break.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
When Dad needed help getting around, I became his driver. Soon enough, it was up to me to be his housekeeper and financial manager, too. When he moved in, I became his cook and even his nurse. But no matter what roles I play, I know I'm still his daughter.
We understand the roles you play. So to help, we created aarp.org/caregiving, where you can connect with experts and other caregivers. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today I'm speaking with the president and co-owner of Replast, Bob Demenu. And before we went to commercial break, we were just talking about the holidays and how boxing has got boxing that's got more packaging. And, how, again, a lot of them aren't labeled. So it's important for us to reach out to the companies that actually are producing these items that you're purchasing with tons of packaging, and let them know that you'd like them to start to label it, or maybe even change some of the stuff that they might use might even not be recyclable. It just has to be thrown in the garbage, but it could be recycled. Correct, Bob?
And Carrie, there's a lot of companies out there now doing e-waste or electronic waste recycling programs. Not so much here in Ontario, but it is happening throughout the country and through the U.S. as well. And that's very important because an old photocopier or an old cartridge of some sort, a lot of fire stations, I noticed that they're even setting up free e-waste recycling programs. There's a green steel container on their property, and you can just drop it off, and they'll put it in there, and it gets recycled. And so there's some good moves going on in that direction as well.
Yes. Yeah, and Best Buy's got a big one for that. I save all my, obviously batteries, right? They're not to go into landfills, my friend, because that's just not cool. So I always save all of our, batteries and all this, anything that's electronic or cords, or like you said, any old printers, TVs. I just take it right to Best Buy, and they have a whole depot where you can just drop it off, and they will dispose of it for you, which is beautiful because you don't want to be throwing batteries in the garbage, my friends.
And Carrie, where we live, there's a recycling depot which is tied to the city of Hamilton and owned and operated by the city of Hamilton. And so in the spring, when you're done planting your flowers and things like that, the trays and the pots that they come in, we take them there, and they have areas for rigid plastics and other part for metals and things like that. And so there's also a hazmat area, and I think there's one in Halton region as well. And that can take your aerosol containers, light bulbs, fluorescent bulbs, that type of thing, and any old paint, that type of thing. So that's what we do is, it's more diversion than it is to just, throw it out. If it's an old paint can from, 3 years ago and you're never going to use the paint again, take it to one of these places and they'll handle it safely.
Yes, and it is important because a lot of the toxic cleaners that a lot of people use in their homes, if you take certain bottles and put them outside, a lot of areas will not pick up hazmats at all. So you might find that they take and they won't take your recycling at all, my friends. If you have a bottle in there that might have had, some toxic chemicals in it, and it's sitting on top, they're not going to take the part off, the bottle on top that's not good and throw the rest in. They're just not going to pick it up at all. I've seen that quite a bit too.
Yeah, and so, just being diligent, I guess. I keep repeating that, but it's just a matter of knowing your area and what's available to you to do more than just recycling and diverting from landfill. That's the key part is do your part and take things to where they have to go so it's handled properly. And you don't want a paint can full of paint going into your garbage can, and then that goes into the compactor truck that's driving around from curb to curb, and then ending up leaching out. That's even worse. So there's things we can do.
Yeah, and it's, again, my friends, we're just here to educate you, and a lot of the products that you may use at home for cleaning your house or whatever, take a look at the bottle. If it's got a hazardous sign on it, like you have to wear a gas mask and rubber gloves and don't breathe where you use it, it's fine. If you want to use that in your house, go right ahead. But they're not going to pick it up and take it to the. This is stuff that you need to be able to put aside and take, again, to yourself. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's just too much work. Well, you know what? It really isn't at the end of the day, because I know with myself, when I find that I'm starting to get the batteries or whatever that stuff, anything, like if I've been doing cleaning and I've got all these cords from electronic stuff, I'm thinking, I just got to get rid of this. I'll wait till the next time I go by, the area, and I'll just put it in my truck and I'll drive it there on my way. So it's not like I'm going out of the way to do it, but I make sure that I do go out of my way to drop it off when I'm going that way. Because, again, I don't want to sit here and sit back and say, I can't believe I just threw that out in the garbage, knowing that at the end of the day, it's just going to hurt Mother Earth. I think that people don't understand either that when, a lot of the stuff that's toxic, like you said, the paints and the chemicals, they're seeping into the ground in these fills. And again, what does that do, my friend? Yeah. So, it's just, yes. And it's a big giant, it's like the snowball when it drops at the top of the hill. And by the time it gets to the bottom, it's huge. So, if you can start at your place in your home and educate yourself, that snowball is going to stay a snowball. It's not going to turn into a big giant, I don't even want. I'm seeing it, but I don't know the word for it. It's like a big giant snowball. It's huge. It's almost like an avalanche. If you don't catch it in time, it becomes something you don't want it to be. So, and together we can all do this.
And Carrie, even if they make it a seasonal thing, maybe spring cleanup and a fall cleanup. If you painted in the fall and you didn't get rid of your paint cans, do it in the spring. That's what I try to do. Is I capture all my hazardous materials, which aren't a lot, but I mean, light bulbs and things like that are hazardous.
Yes.
And so I keep it in bags, and then when I get too much of it, I make a trip. And it's not like I have to make one every week or every month. Make it every 6 months, just to get to a pattern of some sort.
Yes. Well, I love when you walk into your garage and you've got all those, you've got 5 or 6 of them lined up. It's great when you go to Andrea and Bob's, you know exactly where it goes. It goes into this one, it goes into that one. But again, it's like myself. I have 4 of them, and certain things go into certain ones. And it's just like, again, I've educated myself on this, so I feel good knowing that I'm not contributing to putting this into the landfill. And again, with yourself, Bob, with Replas, I mean, you guys take it to a completely different level because you're now dealing with post-industrial. And again, what you guys are doing for this planet, I mean, you're dealing with tons and tons and tons of stuff every year. I mean, I can't even throw a number. Like, if you were to throw a number of how much stuff you actually recycled last year when it comes to tons, like, give me a ball here.
Probably 500 ton, if not more.
See? That's a lot of weight, my friends.
Yeah, because it's all in different categories. It's cardboard, it's film, it's and rigid plastics, and so we're dealing with the companies that are making the bottles and companies that are making the blue bins and things like that. So those are the types of materials that come through our facility, and it's all based on weight. I mean, when we take on a new account, it's a trailer load at a time. So imagine a trailer load of blue bins collected around from whatever city you're from, and that would end up in our facility, and then we would grind that up. So that's a lot of plastic in just one load, and loads can be 50,000 pounds. They can be 30,000 pounds, and they just keep coming in, and we grind them up, and they go back out and made into something else. Yes,
and it's interesting to see how, especially in your facility, how things come in and how they leave. It's completely different, my friends. And again, because I feel blessed that I've been able to be in Replas and spend time there and to see how the industry works. And again, it allows me as a consumer to understand that, as a consumer, we also need to work with the industrial. So, like you said, if all of a sudden every time you buy a phone, you got 15 boxes and wires and plastic wrapping, plastic, everything's wrapping, say something to the next time and say, I think you should probably do a little bit better in the recycling department because you really don't need 15 boxes for a phone. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's a matter of just talking to the companies and saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm. Well, there was I remember there for a while where a lot of companies were using plastics that they probably shouldn't have for consumable products. That's what the number codes, my friends. And then a lot of them started to change. And then a lot of them started going to glass again. They went from plastic to glass because consumers said, I will not use this anymore. And, if all of a sudden you say to a major corporation, I'm not going to buy this from you anymore, and I'm going to go to this brand because they use the proper plastic or they use glass, it's going to force that other company to shift the way they package their stuff, because if not, they'll go out of business.
That's right. That's consumer demand saying you're seeing more and more glass nowadays. Formula bottles for babies, they're turning back to glass.
Yes. Yeah, that was a big thing. We don't even want to get into that.
Yeah, because glass can be reused.
Yes.
Plastic, one life, and that's it until it gets recycled.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize either that certain plastics, once they get heat up, or if you actually cut them, like if you have a plastic plate and it's a certain number and you cut it, you've now broken the film, and it actually will, and you put it in the dishwasher and it heats up. A lot of people don't even understand that when it comes to plastics, that heat and cutting it can actually, it will no longer be safe.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
right? So, again, my friends, lots to educate. And I used to be with the Center of Education for Children's Wealth and Environment. And this is stuff that I learned over the years when I was with them, that, we would go, and it wouldn't be about just getting rid of the toxic chemicals out of whatever we were dealing with. It was also dealing with the plastics, because they would be putting plastics into, doing things with plastic that was going against the plastic of what the nature of the plastic is meant to be for, right? So lots of educating to do there, Bob.
Oh, it's ongoing, Carrie, and it happens every day. And Andrea's played a big part in that with, with the growth of the company and educating they end up being consumers that are being educated on the recycling of what we do. And
yes.
Because everyone that we deal with, they live at a home somewhere, and then they're eating those consumables. And so we just show them a different angle of what they can do in the workplace as opposed to what they can do in their home. And it's
yes.
rewarding, as I said earlier. And, when you see a program come together as they do, it's a good feeling, and you're doing your part, one customer at a time, but it all contributes to saving our landfill and, like you said, saving
yeah.
Mother Earth.
Yes. Well, and think about it, Bob. When you go in and you educate the employees on the recycling program, a lot of them are probably like, wow, I didn't know that. And now they take it and they use it in their everyday recycling. So it goes from industrial to consumer.
Exactly. And so when we're looking at the warehouse and the manufacturing facility, and then we get into the office and we go, okay, well, why aren't you recycling that? Well, I didn't know I could. Well, now you know. So
yes.
Send it our way, and we'll take care of it for you in a proper manner.
Yes. And that's, again, those that are listening, please understand that consumers have more power than we realize. So start to use your voice. If there's a product that you are addicted to and you just need to have it, but you notice that how they're shipping it or whatever is not to standards, say something. Because at the end of the day, they're going to want to hear from you, because if they stop getting their consumers, guess what? They're going to go out of business. So stay tuned, my friends, and we'll be back after this commercial break, and we'll have the weekly reading as well. Stay tuned.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on The Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Hello, I'm John Lithgow. Manatees are unique, among the most amazing animals on Earth, but they're endangered. We pose the greatest threat to their survival. Many manatees are killed or injured by boats or other recreational activities. I'm a writer of children's books, including one about manatees, and I believe education is the key. You can be part of the solution. Please contact Save the Manatee Club right now. Call 1-800-432-JOIN. Thank you.
Welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today my special guest, Bob Demenu, president and co-owner of Replas, and I have been talking about the truth regarding recycling. And this is the time in the program where I just tap into spirit and get the message to share with all those that are listening in. And I actually am kind of giggling about this, because it seems that a lot of people that are listening in right now are going into the past and saying, I can't believe I did this, or wow, I didn't realize that. And Spirit is saying, don't beat yourself up over this, okay? Because we're here to help educate you, not to put you down. Because if you're ignorant to it, it's ignorant because you don't know about it. It's not ignorant because you've chosen not to know about it. And it's just, they're saying, allow yourself to be educated. And this is a year to educate yourself as we walk in, that we need to understand deeper what's happening when it comes to industrial, when it comes to, your own recycling, they're saying. And don't put your guard up, they're saying, with regards to, like, don't sit there and bitch and complain about it, they're saying. Say something about it. If you're going to sit there and spend 10 minutes complaining about something, they're saying, why don't you just get on your laptop and send an email that will take you just as long, but actually you're doing something with it instead of just yapping about it in your head. Because that's not going to get anyone anywhere, they're saying. They're saying that Gaia needs us right now. We've been talking about this on the show for a long time. And you might feel that things are not speeding up and it's taking too long. And they're saying shift the vibrations regarding that. Because every day there's new inventions coming out, or new things that are appearing. People's wisdom and knowledge is growing to another level. And this is creating new ways of being able to eliminate, the recycling that needs to take place. So, when you're having a good time, don't feel guilty about something you may have done in the past because you didn't recycle something, or you've been throwing batteries out and you didn't realize you shouldn't be doing that. They're saying start focusing on the now, knowing that from here day forward, go on to replast.ca. And yes, they're post-industrial, but there is information in there that might help you. And I'm sure that, if you're in the industry, they're saying I know Bob and Andrea very well. They're beautiful people to work with. That's why I didn't mind. Like, I loved going in every once in a while to get out of the spiritual world and go work in the warehouse. I'm in a completely different industry now, but it really made me see the light of day of what was really happening out there in the greater community. So Spirit's just saying, just take this time, my friends, to educate yourself a little bit more and know that this is one step further for all of us to be able to help Mother Earth to clean up, to be able to become healthy again. We're doing too much to her on so many different levels, but this is one way you can actually step forward and help her. So, Bob, would you like to add anything to that information?
Just that some of those materials that we were talking about, they end up being made into plastic lumber that you'll see more and more at Home Depot, and people are building their decks out of it instead of chopping trees down and making wood decks and things like that. So, there's some good things going on out there with the materials that are getting captured, whether it's from the consumers or from post-industrial. And these are all great things that are just coming about, and they're finding a new home and a new use for these instead of going to the landfill. So it's all positive. It's wonderful to see some of the new technologies that are coming out, and I'm in the loop with a lot of the trades and things like that. So we see things coming down the pipeline, and we're really excited about things like your potato chip bag. It's plastic, but it's foil, and it's a laminate is what we call it. And so there's technologies going on out there right now that want to address that, because what else are you going to do with a chip bag? I don't know of any programs that are allowing that in their curbside. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are trying to do some great things, and we're just happy to be a part of it and have you on board with us as well, Karen.
Every once in a while when I show up with my do you have your steel-toe shoes, Carrie? Yes, Bob, I do.
Put you back to work.
It's like, how many Saturdays or weekends we've gone in there and we've done. I'll never forget that time where you had all of those planting trays come in, and you guys had thousands of them, and the whole family was there working with you. Remember that?
I know.
Way back. That was
Way
a couple
back.
of warehouses back. Yes, but again, it's just
warehouses back.
And this is one thing, but you know what? When I went in there and I worked with you guys, it wasn't. We could listen to music. Yes, I'm throwing stuff in Big Bertha, but it educates you as well, because there were so many things that came through. I was like, wow, I didn't realize you could do this. And that's one thing I love about you and Andrea, because I've seen you guys go out to meetings, and I've been around enough that, to see people's faces when you say, hey, you know what, did you know that, like you said, you go in, did you know you could recycle this? And they're like, no. And that's one thing I like about Replast is that, if there's anybody out there who's listening in, if your company's having any issues with, recycling, or you don't really know, pick up the phone and contact Replast. Again, it's re-plast.ca. And, because I would say, Bob, again, because of the business ethics that you and Andrea have, and, just the way you guys do business, 90% of your business comes through word of mouth because of the program that you guys have created a beautiful program. And it's not just about going in and just grabbing it. You educate your customers, which is huge.
Well, at the same time, we're trying to divert things that would typically be thought of as garbage and make it into something else, and make them consciously aware of what can be done, instead of having this big 40-yard garbage bin out in the back and just throwing everything in it. Instead of that, why don't you just get a smaller bin and recycle all of these things? And so we end up saving the company's money on their disposal, like I said earlier, and just doing what you can for the earth.
Yes. And future's to come, my friends. I mean, if we're running out of landfills already, you know, like how many people are on this planet, and every day everyone's having more and more babies. So we need to do our part to ensure that these children that are being born now are going to have Mother Earth the way we have it, the beauty that she has to offer. I mean, again, if we're putting this stuff into the landfills and it's not going to recycle and it's seeping out, you know, toxic chemicals, and it's going into the land, it's going into the water. Again, we have to think of the bigger picture of what's happening here. So, you know, I'm really, really grateful that you came on here today, Bob, to help people understand, because today is Boxing Day. So, my friends, you might want to go take a look at your recycling and see if you could actually maybe put some more garbage that you thought was garbage into the recycling now, because you didn't realize that, you know.
I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity of having me on the air with you today. And it's always great talking to you, and look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. And hopefully I've helped your audience with a little bit more of insight into what can be done out there, and what should be done, I guess.
Yes. And anything you would like to share with the listeners about Replast, Bob?
You know, we remain available to be contacted any time. Speak with myself or Andrea Snowden. All our contact information is on our website, which Carrie's mentioned a few times already. And just out of curiosity, take a look-see and see. You'll get a better idea through the photo gallery of the different materials that we handle, and it's interesting and it's educational. And we feel free to talk to anybody that has any inquiries, have any concerns that they have that maybe we can help them with, whether it's on the post-consumer side or the post-industrial side. So anyway, wish everyone a happy holiday, and thanks for having me on it, Carrie.
Not a problem. And I love your goal. Your goal here is to have very minimal waste sent to landfills, if none at all. So, again, that's what I love about Replast, that you're trying to do what you can to ensure that if it doesn't need to go to landfill, it does not go. And, you know, that's a strong mission. And those are the type of people that, you know, if I'm going to be in the recycling, if I'm going to get into the inside, you know, if I was a corporation right now that I was looking for recycling, again, knowing that is your, you know, your main mission, your goal, and knowing that you come in and you educate me and my staff. And, you know, I've seen you guys bend over backwards for your clients. And that's one thing, you know, again, I know that by having you on the air, on the show, I know that if clients reach out, that people reach out to you who are listening in, I know they're going to be taken care of. And I know you know what you're talking about. So, again, I thank you for the wisdom and knowledge that you guys are sharing at a global level, because it doesn't matter where you are in the world, my friends. We all need to recycle. So really look into what's happening around your area. You know, again, they change all the time. So, you know, if you get that little piece of paper or that flyer stuck in and said, here's the recycling, like, I saw it last year. You might want to take a look at it, because things have probably changed from the program last year to the program this year. Again, because all the new technology that's coming in. So, again, go take a look at your garbage that you're throwing out for the Christmas and see what you can do to help, you know, Mother Earth just a little bit more. So thank you, Bob. I really, really appreciate you coming on. And for those that are on next week, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be starting a new show, and it's going to be called Charting the Tides of Life. And my co-host for this show is going to be Chris Anderson, who is an intuitive astrologer and teacher of the ACIM. And he's going to be on he's going to be starting on January 2nd. He'll be back on the 30th. and then he'll be on the last Monday of every month thereafter. I also have on January 9th, Clearing the Vessel from the Inside Out, how to remove toxicities from your home, which will be great because it can add on to this show. And that's with Flo Ferritin, who is an RN and a Bachelor of Science. And then I have Grammy winner Paul Avagarios, who's going to be coming on January 16th to talk about Amma, the devotional songs to the Divine Mother. And then the last guest of the month will be Carol Starr Taylor, and she's going to be talking about chaos to clarity. She actually just wrote a book. So we have an exciting lineup coming up in the new year. And again, what a great way to end this year off with Boxing Day, to understand a little bit more about recycling. And at the same time, do some inner recycling, my friends. Know that this is a time of year where we're in a Mercury retrograde. Go in and reflect and allow that which no longer serves any purpose to be released, knowing that we are stepping into a new year and that it's a new energy cluster. It's a year 1 year. So let's start off this right with a solid foundation. Start recycling. Anything that that you can use within the home that can be recycled. And know that at the end of the day, you're helping Mother Earth. So thanks again, Bob. I appreciate you being on the show. And I will see you all next year. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everyone who's listening in. Happy New Year to you, Bob.
Thanks, Carrie. Same to you.
And we'll see you all next year in 2017 on January 2nd with Starting the Tide of Life. Have a wonderful week, my friends. Bye-bye.